Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Life in General podcast. My name is Nick.
I'm Ian.
Yes, I said Life in General, Ian. We are not doing our regular podcast. This will be, I got to turn my light on real quick so I can see here. This is for the first time in, I think, 920 days. We're doing a podcast episode of Life in General. What's going on, Ian?
Nothing.
It's been a while since we've talked. There's
Yeah.
been something kind of major that's happened since then.
I can't imagine what it could be. I mean, nothing going on in the world that I can think of.
So I guess we'll kind of go back in time a little bit for the people that are, I don't know if anyone's even subscribed to this, to our channel anymore. I have no clue. But
Right.
if you're just finding us, we started Life in General way back in January of 2017, about 2 weeks before Donald Trump's first inauguration. We did 200 episodes. So you can go back and find 200 other episodes of shit that we've talked about over the years.
Yeah.
And then we stopped. I think the last time we did an episode was August 21st, 2022. So yeah, 920 days. But now there's been another election. So I figured we'd come back on here and talk a little bit. But
like I said, I didn't know there was another election. No one seems to be talking about it on TV or on Facebook or anything.
So I guess I'll start this by saying, like, a good little background. I consider myself liberal. I always have.
Well, centrist liberal, but yeah.
Well, I don't think so. I consider myself fiscally moderate, which I've been somebody that said for 2 decades that our government spends way too much fucking money.
Yeah, the question is where they spend it, though. I think that's where you would disagree with the conservatives.
Oh yeah, for sure. Especially with the way right now and hacking
Everything.
Parts of the government, they're not. But the sad thing is, they're not really cutting anything of any substance that makes any monetary difference to the budget.
No.
Like, they're cutting literally like a fraction of a percent from
Right.
there. But as far as like social issues, I've always been very liberal on all that stuff.
Right.
I will say, going into this election, I think when Biden first dropped out, my first thought was,
It's over. Right.
It's over. He waited way too long. He should have dropped out 2 years before.
Yeah.
But then
or before the primaries.
I think at the midterm, he should have, or before the midterms, he should have said, I'm not going to seek re-election and have a full cycle. I mean, he was too fucking old when he won the first time,
Right.
And not so much like, I get it. Trump is, the same age now, than what Biden was when he won the first time. Like, but like there's a I think a steeper cognitive decline, especially over the last 2 years, of what Biden was previously, right? And then the way the Democrats kind of got behind Kamala Harris, I thought, okay, well, maybe there's a chance there. And she had this bump, like the first 3 or 4 weeks, where I thought, hey, she might be able to pull this off. And then after that, I would say at least after the debate, even though she slaughtered him in the debate, after that, I was like, it's over. Trump is going to win.
Right.
I should have put money on it.
I don't know if there was, what's that big betting pool that they have in Vegas for everything?
Well, there's lots of them.
Yeah, well, they have one for
there's lots
elections
of
and stuff, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, someone brought up a good point on the radio within the last couple of weeks. And it's something I never thought about, is since JFK, there has been no Democrat that has won election during prosperity. Democrats only win elections after Republicans go in and fuck everything up.
Okay.
You figure, Carter won off of the back of Watergate. Clinton won after 12 years of Reaganomics absolutely decimated the middle class in this country.
Right.
Obama won off of the back of the Iraq War and the financial crisis in
2008.
2008. Biden won off of the back of COVID. I've said since the 2020 election, I've said that if it wasn't for COVID, Biden doesn't win that election.
Yeah, probably
So
not.
it's something I never thought about. JFK was the last president, the last Democrat to be elected during prosperity.
Mm. So what does that tell you? It tells you that the populace is so lost in what? I don't know, but that they can only see fit to put a Democrat in office when they need something fixed. And if they're the ones who keep fixing it, why did they keep losing?
Because I think us as a country have a very short memory.
Well, yeah, it lasts about 5 seconds these
Yeah.
days.
So, things are going fine. So it gives Republicans the opportunity to come out and say, hey, we can make things better, or we're going to continue with this, or we're going to change this or that.
Or
When
they
really
create
all they
another
do,
boogeyman like, well, first it was
Black
abortion
Lives
and gay.
Matter, and then
Yeah,
it was critical race theory, and now it's
right.
fucking DEI. I think the one thing the Republican sphere or media sphere
Mm.
is really good at making people afraid of something, whether it's Black Lives Matter or immigrants or
Right.
they're able to really kind of help their viewers focus in on whatever issue they have.
Boogeyman. There's no
Yeah,
issues. It's boogeyman. Brown people typically. Brown people and men who dress up like women.
yeah.
That's it, really. Oh, and brown people specifically taking all your money and jobs.
But that's the sad thing about all this is you have these policies that they put in place in the first 30 some odd days
Yeah,
have hurt a lot of the people
that
that
voted
voted
for
for
them.
them.
Right.
And it's starting to show in his approval rating. His
Yeah.
approval
Well,
rating is below, I think, the low one I just saw was like 45% or something like that, 45 or 46%, which is where he basically hovered at his entire first term in office.
right.
But the people that he's hurt, and they've even said that they're hurting from this, people are losing their jobs that voted for him. They're losing funding for projects that fund parts of their jobs because of the funding cuts and things like that. But they're still not blaming Trump for it. That's the thing that kind of gets me.
Right.
Is
Well, I was just gonna say, and plus the echo chamber. I don't think it's Fox News as much as it used to be.
no, now
But
it's
it's
Newsmax and
saying
Breitbart and
OAN.
yeah,
But I saw a post from someone that I don't unfriend people on Facebook. But she
I
was
do.
a Trumper. She was a Trumper before. After Biden won, she didn't post anything. Like she went completely silent. At least on my feed. Since he's won, she's popped back up. And she just last week she posted, what's wrong with you people? Why are you so pissed off? Trump has saved the country trillions. And she puts in parentheses in all caps, trillions. Like trillions. So you're saying he wiped out the entire deficit? Because trillions technically doesn't exist. And it does now, but it's not real money.
Yeah.
And trillions is what our deficit is in. So he didn't, and there's no way he got rid of that. So I did a little bit of looking, and it's somewhere in the vicinity of 8 million to about 55 billion in savings.
If you believe the numbers they put out.
If you believe the numbers,
because that's the other thing is
these are official numbers, but it's still vague because you're talking a gap of 8 million to 55 billion. That's a large gap.
Even though they're coming out and they're saying, okay, yeah, we cut this or cut that, they're really not showing. They said that they found all this fraud.
Right.
I'll put fraud in quotation marks, but they don't show any fucking evidence that they found anything. Right.
I know.
when they're squabbling over the $65 a day roughly is what you get off or average people get from Social Security. When they're squabbling over the $65 a day you get from that instead of the $8 million a day that Elon Musk makes from government contracts.
Well, I mean, is that a real fucking surprise?
Yeah.
You've basically given, you gave the lion the key to the whatever, or the fox the key to the hen house.
Yeah. And the first agencies he started going after were the agencies
that compete with
had
him.
that had investigated him.
Right. And then no other companies are either. It's going to start showing that his companies are the only ones that are going to get government contracts or
Well,
keep their government contracts.
Well, yeah, it came out that he was working on was a $220 million contract with the government to buy armored Tesla vehicles.
Yeah. NASA's going to probably get absorbed into SpaceX. So, which makes, I mean, even the concept of that, it's an entire government agency gets sucked up. Not even, and it's partially a military agency. It's separate, but it's always been staffed by military out in terms of the people who are doing the actual like physical parts of it. Is getting absorbed into a private company, and a private company that's not even really technically an American company, by the way. Yeah. So I just don't understand how these people, they keep going, it's your money. They're saving you your money. I'm like, they're not. They're redistributing my money and making it look like they're saving my money.
Yeah, they're saving pennies while they're sticking millions in their pocket.
Right. And that's what I don't understand, why people are so fucking blind.
Well, the thing I keep seeing going around the last couple of days is, well, we're going to be getting everyone's going to get a $5,000 check of their savings, which if you go off the numbers that they've said that they've saved and divide that by the number of taxpayers in this country, it's like $15 or some shit like that. Enjoy kids not having
school lunches.
Well, I was going to say, they cut like all this funding for childhood cancer research.
Oh, right.
Let's have that $15 in your pocket over that,
Right. Yeah, because
I'll bring up school lunches because there's a lot of people that fucking hate school lunches, but
I don't understand why. What is so wrong with feeding children?
I see it all the time. Every time that there's an election that comes around, like a local election,
right,
and they're like trying to raise like funding for the school in my area or my village or whatever the town is. Mm-hmm. There's always people online complaining about, well, why should my taxes go up? I don't even have kids that go to that school. So you're always going to have that kind of thing.
Yeah, but that's a much bigger thing. That's school.
But it's the same thing. The people say, why should I be paying when I only have kids in school for other kids to have food? Like, it's a stupid fucking argument.
Right.
But I'm just saying that's the argument that's made.
Yeah, I mean that is what Jesus would do. He would say, "Don't feed the children."
Exactly.
And I would wonder how many people who are subscribed to that religion and philosophy.
That's my biggest complaint about organized religion is that very, very, very few of them actually follow the teachings of Jesus Christ.
Well, they do follow the I bring a sword, not peace. They bring that. They love that. Onward Christian soldiers, that kind of thing. Yeah. They love that stuff. But and they'll support that stuff in the streets any day. But feeding the children and turning the other cheek, none of that stuff.
Or welcoming in immigrants and things like that.
Well, he doesn't say immigrants, but
that's what they are.
Taking care of those who are lesser than who have less than you.
He was a fucking immigrant himself.
Yeah. More or less. Oh, well, I guess because he came from Nazareth. He was from Nazareth, and he came to Jerusalem. Yeah. It's all kind of the same thing. It's all ruled by the same person, I guess.
Still, damn it.
That's like saying, I'm an immigrant because I went from Tennessee to Michigan, or vice versa.
Well, a little bit more than that, but the same thing with all these like immigration crackdowns. Mm-hmm. There's a bunch of Native Americans that got fucking caught up on all that.
That's because they're brown.
Because they're brown.
They don't know how to tell the difference.
There was I don't know what state it was, but there was a article that came out, a report that came out within the last couple of weeks it was a lady and her son because you can make an anonymous report to ICE.
Of course you can.
But somebody was like heard them speaking Spanish and reported them. And they're U.S. citizens. They're from fucking Puerto Rico. Like,
Trump doesn't know Trump doesn't know the difference between that either.
I know that,
but I don't know.
This makes absolutely no sense.
No, it doesn't.
Well, like the other thing is like over half of the because they said they're only going to go after the criminals is what they said. but like half of the people that they've rounded up don't have criminal records.
Right. Well, that's because the percentage of illegals who have criminal records is very small anyway.
Well, they're not illegals. They're not illegals first off anyway, Ian, but
illegals in the sense that
they're undocumented.
I'm using their vernacular.
I don't
even think undocumented is something.
No, technically that's what they are, because illegal doesn't make sense, because it's not like a crime to be undocumented in the U.S. It's a civil offense.
Right.
So,
well, you know how I feel about lines on a map, so that's what I meant by that. Yeah. I guess I have to, because that's the world we live in, and that's the structure that we've all grown up with. But I just, they're imaginary fucking lines. They don't mean anything other than the meaning we apply to them.
Yeah.
And when you're talking about people starving or being forced to stay in a country that's blowing up around them because some dictator says that
we financially backed.
You're right, exactly. It bothers the fuck out of me.
Yeah. So that's always been my thing, is like, these people are trying to escape the U.S.'s foreign policy in Central and South America for the last 45 years.
Right. Right. And those policies are in place so that we get cheaper sugar.
Yeah.
Basically. And to continue the drug war, but that's my tinfoil hat idea. Because I don't think I'm entirely wrong. I might exaggerate it, but the drug war was good for business, as most wars are.
Well, yeah.
So, and
if you own prisons, it's really good for business.
Well, but even before privatized prisons were becoming a thing, I'm talking about keeping the inner cities subjugated, keeping minorities from obtaining any kind of wealth. The drug war has been very good for white rich people.
I would say non-poor people, because there's a lot of white people that get caught up in that also. But
of course, well, it's poor people, but I think the biggest focus when you look at the statistics of incarcerations for drug offenses.
Well, yeah, because you figure there are more white drug addicts in the U.S. than any other race. There's more white drug dealers than any other race. There's more white crackheads than any other race.
Definitely more white meth heads.
Yeah. But they only make up a very small percentage of the ones that are in prison.
Right. Well, and they do go to prison. They just go for shorter sentences.
Yeah.
So anyone with an IQ over 100 can tell that the system has benefited in terms of keeping the population under their thumb through the drug war.
The other thing is because like the end of all this, the end game for all of this is just to pass this tax plan, is all it is.
Oh yeah.
And it's gonna, if you make less than, what is it? If you make less than $360,000 a year, your taxes are going up.
Which is what, 60% of the country?
95% of the country.
Oh, 95. I was trying 95. To be conservative with it.
95% of the. Do you think 40% of the country makes more than $360,000 a year?
No, I guess not. I wasn't really thinking.
If you're the bottom 80%, your taxes are going to go up between $800 to $1,800 a year.
Oh.
And then if you're in the next 15%, your taxes are going to go up about $600 a year. And if you're between $360,000 and $914,000, you're going to get a $7,000 a year tax deduction. And if you're in the top 1%, you're going to get a $36,000 a year tax deduction. Reduction.
So your tax reduction will be the equivalent of what most people barely make in a year.
Yes.
That's what your tax reduction is.
Yeah.
And everyone else's is going to go up. That's it. That's what I'm talking about. Republicans always do this, but never to this extent. Yeah. This is extreme. This is extreme. And people fucking are voted for him knowing that this was going to fucking happen.
People are celebrating it.
They just don't think it was going to happen. Right. They just do because they don't think it's going to hurt them. They think it's going to hurt others. It's going to hurt them. Not going to hurt me, But they will.
Yeah.
They will.
And I think that's one thing that came out that I really noticed after this election. was how almost evil our society is. Like, people don't care. Like, people will vote against their own interests
To hurt
as
others.
just as long as somebody else is getting hurt more than them.
Right.
That's all they fucking care about. That's all they care about. You've got all these poor white people in the middle of fucking nowhere in this country that just as long as brown people and black people are getting hurt more than them, they're down with it.
Right.
And
Yeah, I don't get
it
it.
was very apparent in this election.
Yeah, but and it's funny because those are the people it's going to hurt the most, really, and it will hurt them more than it'll hurt. It'll hurt them more than it'll hurt middle class African Americans and Hispanic people, because Medicare and Medicaid are going to be attacked. Medicaid's for sure is going away.
Yeah,
They're trying
I
very hard to
don't
get
know about go away, but it's going to be severely cut back.
right. So most of your red state white Republicans are the ones who benefit the most from that.
Yeah,
And they're not going to have any health care at all.
Yeah.
Even Medicaid now is not the greatest. It just means they won't fucking die.
The other thing that they do is they pass or they pass. Well, I guess they're not even really passing anything. They write executive orders for things that are already in place, right? So they want to make a work requirement for Medicaid, even though 95% of the people on Medicaid work.
Already work, yeah.
So it's pointless. It's all it is. It's all about optics.
Oh, of course.
It's just creating that look. So the people that voted for it would be like, oh, see, he's hurting those people over there. So we're good. That's who I want in office.
Right. Can I like be born some other time? Can I just go to a different? I don't care. I don't really want to go back because some of my social ideas are mine are way more progressive the farther back you go. I'm not sure if there is much of a future to go to. So I don't know, but I just don't want to be here now. I really don't.
I'm trying to think of there's hold on, let me see what the name of this project is, or what the name of this website. I pulled it up a couple of days ago. I was looking at it. Hold on. I think it's called Democracy 2025.
Oh.
Yes. Democracy2025.org. They're an organization that has been behind a lot of the lawsuits so far against the Trump administration. Like every day they're filing new lawsuits.
Right.
And he fucking loses all of them. Well,
it doesn't matter.
He's lost all of them so far. But
so what happens while we're litigating everything, nothing's getting done. What little is getting done is like the tax cuts that are gonna, pretty much devastate the middle class. It's kind of like smoke and mirrors.
Well, yeah,
they know
look,
that.
Look at the shiny object here while we steal from you over here.
Exactly, and they're relying on the litigation. I know it's the only thing that anyone has to fight against it, but they're relying on it. They want the lawsuits. They want to keep everything bogged down in litigation, so nothing of real substance gets done. And they could probably even turn that around and say, well, we wanted to make things better for you, but the Democrats kept suing us.
Here's the other problem with that is they've lost lawsuits so far, and they have ignored
the courts
in those.
Right.
Yeah, they've ignored the courts
because they know that there'll be more
lawsuits. So then, where is the accountability? Right?
Well, there never has been with any of them.
I know that,
but even less.
There's at least been the perception of that.
Right.
There's none of that now.
So, do we really have the potential for there to be an abolishment of the entire system? Is Trump truly a king now?
Well, he calls himself that. If no one is there to hold the administration accountable or force them to do anything, that's your entire government.
Right.
They always talk about a constitutional crisis. That's what that is.
I know. I've been saying this. To be honest with you, the only thing I got wrong was it's going to be a second term that he does all this, not his first. I thought he was going to do all this his first.
It's funny you mentioned that. I was thinking about this a couple days ago. I think the country would have been better off
had he won in 2020.
had he won in 2020.
Yeah.
Because giving them that 4 years, because it was all fucking, it was all chaos. His first term was all chaos,
Right.
and it was leading by mass chaos. But it gave them 4 years to plan and organize and
Right.
put all this Project 2025 bullshit
And
together.
Agenda 47. Don't forget about Agenda 47.
Yeah. But had he won in 2020, he wouldn't have been able to do that, right?
Well, I don't think he would have been organized enough. He wouldn't have had. He wouldn't have had that loss to spur him on.
Yeah.
Either, you know.
And we'd be done with him.
Well, more
Maybe.
or less.
Unless he stays, he's joked about staying for a third term.
Yeah. Well, we'll see. I mean, I can't imagine. I know there will be a percentage of Republicans who would be all for it, but I think in the grand scheme, I'm hoping that the vast majority would say, no, that's one
I don't
step
have that
too
kind
far.
of hope.
Well, it is definitely a hope that is not strong in me. But
He could murder somebody on the White House lawn, and he would still have all of his followers.
Of course, because the Supreme Court says he's allowed to do that.
Yeah.
So
I mean, not really, but
yeah, who's
it's
gonna do anything about it?
I guess that's I mean, you're right. Where if there's no accountability there, there's no checks and balances in government.
If you tell someone they have complete immunity to do whatever they want as long as they are in this position, they will do whatever they want.
It's not really as long as he's in this position. It's as long as those acts are done in official capacity. Like
everything he does, he'll say is in an official capacity. Yeah. So it doesn't matter. And he doesn't have to kill anybody. He can have someone else do it for him.
Oh, yeah. 'Cause, I mean, he couldn't do it.
No.
But, it's, that's the other thing is you had, like, during the election, I guess that was the other thing that kind of give me a little pause during the election. Think, hey, maybe the Democrats have an opportunity, is when all the Project 2025 stuff came out. And it was really it was hurting him, at least in polling. It was hurting him to the point where he had to come out and talk about Project 2025 and about how he didn't know anything about it.
Yeah, barely. I've never heard of it, but when I read about it, it sounds extreme.
Yeah. And then he's
never heard of it, but he's read about it.
Page by page following it right now. And has been over the last month.
Right. Well, I feel like the second Elon got involved, that's when the tide changed a bit. Too.
Yeah. I don't think Elon Musk is to be part of this equation for very long anyway, but
do you think that's because Elon will get what he wants and he'll just move on?
No.
Or do you think it's because of Trump's ego?
Tired of him? Yeah. Trump's ego was going to kick Elon Musk out.
That's what I was thinking too, but I wasn't sure where you were going with it. Yeah. And I think the people on the other side should be pushing that narrative. Yeah. I liked what I saw. I don't remember who said it. Maybe it was a comedian. I don't remember. But everyone's been joking about President Musk. But this comedian went one step further and said, President Musk and the First Lady Donald Trump. And I thought they should be saying that out loud, every one of them. Create a little imbalance in that relationship because it's too strong right now.
It's already there. You could see, when they were in the Oval Office together, and Elon had his fucking 4-year-old kid with him.
Yeah.
Donald Trump was you could see, he was visibly
irritated.
Angry,
yeah.
Or irritated.
But it doesn't matter because Elon's paid for this privilege that he's got right now.
Yeah.
200 million plus.
Yeah. 250 million plus.
Right. So Trump wasn't going to do anything about it now, but there is a limit to how his ego can handle it.
I wouldn't give it more than, I think by summer, early fall, Elon's going to be on to other things. But it depends on how much he can milk out of this country, milk out of this government. Right. If he is able to completely dissolve NASA into SpaceX, I think maybe he will stick out for a while. Because that's the thing. They want to talk about waste and fraud and all this other stuff in government programs. A lot of that comes from when the government turns to private companies to do what the government used to do.
Right. Exactly.
That's where we
I
got
say it all the
Blackwater
time.
and all that shit during the Iraq War from.
Right.
And
I say it all the
we
time.
made those guys billionaires.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, and that's why they want to privatize everything.
Yeah.
Because, you know, if you privatize it, then the politicians can buy stock and get, all those benefits as well.
Yeah.
But like, you see it on a local level. I see it at work. Every area and where we work that's been outsourced to private companies sucks.
Oh,
Every
yeah,
part of
absolutely.
it. And it
Absolutely.
makes everything else look shit because they have no accountability to anybody other than themselves. And it shows every fucking day.
Yeah.
So I don't want to go into details because I don't know how much I can say, but
Yeah.
none of it's
you're
medical,
right.
but it's all, institutional, but it's still every single area that's a private company that's been outsourced to sucks.
Well, that's all. I mean, yeah, and that's all through the government. Like all the military stuff, all the private military contractors that we pay billions to every damn year to do stuff that our military used to do for a fraction of that cost.
Right.
It's the same thing where we're paying SpaceX millions of dollars to make runs, equipment runs to the International Space Station,
Right.
which is something that we could do for a fraction of that cost.
Right.
Shit,
it was cheaper when we were outsourcing it to Russia.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then again, they were running on rockets that were 50 years old.
Yeah.
Which is weird that they're still operational, but you got something to be said for Russian ingenuity.
Well, I mean, speaking of Russia, have you been following the peace talks?
Yeah, the hey, I'm going to sit down and we're going to talk this out with one country, but not the other.
Yeah. Yeah. And we're going to take all your rare minerals in your ground as payback for all the money we've given you.
Right. 500 billion
Yeah.
for 1 billion worth of, or not even a billion, was like a couple 100 million. Wasn't it? That we've given them so far in aid?
I think we've given them $1 billion. I think so. Somewhere around there.
Whatever. It's a fraction of what Trump is asking for.
Yeah.
He wants 500 billion in mineral rights.
Yeah.
For what was nowhere near 500 billion worth of, And then Zelensky had to come back. He says, "We'll give you 1 billion." And it was like we've given them 1.2 billion, and he offered them 1 billion in mineral rights as a counteroffer. Which, I mean,
and you have to give away all your land to Russia,
right? That they already have, that they've taken. Yeah. You get nothing basically.
Yeah.
You're basically surrendering without losing any more land.
Yeah.
But what you've lost, and what you're going to lose, you're going to lose. In terms of economic stability. And this is what I don't. Honestly, I think that no politician should be allowed to run for office without having to take like the most advanced history courses possible and pass them. Because I have a high school diploma, and I can tell you that is exactly what they did to Germany after World War I and what happened then.
Yeah.
They bankrupted Germany to the point that it would take them 60 years to pay it off.
Yeah.
And that's giving up their entire national budget, or their national income every year to pay it back. It was like in the trillions back then. And it wasn't even that wasn't even a real number in terms of money. And that's how you get extremists.
Yeah.
Or you have a democracy that just gets so stupid that they vote for a TV personality who makes himself a dictator. But, Hitler didn't come to power because he was a TV personality. He came to power because Europe and the United States, we put our foot on Germany so hard that they had no choice but to go for extremism.
Yeah. The other thing, I guess the other thing I was thinking, we were talking about the whole paychecks or the dividends, I think is what they're calling it, from the Doge savings, which the last time we gave out a bunch of checks to people across the country, it didn't turn out so well, did it?
It turned out well for about a year.
until
Not
we had
even a
like
year.
mass inflation. Like,
Well, we also started like 2 wars, and because those first checks came in 2001 before 9/11. So you gave away all that surplus, and then you start 2 wars.
well,
Plus, you
I
cut
remember I was
taxes.
talking about the all the money we gave out during COVID.
Oh yeah,
We
yeah,
gave all those checks during COVID, and then we had, you know, the
mass
highest
inflation.
inflation we've seen in 100 years.
Right. Yeah.
So
Well,
maybe it's not a great idea to give
well,
people those
no,
checks.
it's not a great idea at all because, like I said, you take the COVID out of the equation, and when that was done in 2001, and those were just like $400 checks. They weren't even that much.
I don't even remember that.
Oh yeah, we all got $400 checks in 2001
Okay,
from
well, maybe
the
I do
surplus,
vaguely remember that.
because Bush was like, "Oh, we have the surplus. Let's give it back to the people," and everyone got $340 checks or something like that. But then a year later, he starts 2 fucking wars, and 9/11 starting. One of those wars might have been slightly justified in the beginning, but
Yeah,
I don't know. It's questionable. But started 2 wars that he didn't know how to pay for, and he gave away that
I see it's
surplus.
questionable because
How we handled that.
they weren't like they were all none of them were from Afghanistan. Like,
Right.
they're all from Saudi Arabia, but it's okay.
Well,
Most of them were.
but Bin Laden was in Afghanistan,
Yeah.
not from, but in.
Yeah.
So, and being protected by the government at the time. That was their excuse.
I can see
but they
some
still went in.
justification, but no, it was.
Yeah, they went in without a plan. That's it. Same with Iraq. Although they went into Iraq for wrong reasons anyway. But
No
anyway,
reasons.
no
No
re-
reasons at
well,
all.
they had reasons. They had plenty of reasons. They just didn't have. They weren't the right reasons.
Yeah.
The honorable reasons.
I got a question. Speaking of Iraq, do you know why we went into Iraq the first time?
Not.
'Cause I'm gonna tell you, it's not what they teach
it's not
you.
what they teach us. It's
So
I mean, those were some of the circumstantial things going on, but
so Kuwait was drilling into Iraq and stealing Iraq's oil.
Right.
Saddam Hussein had gone to, I believe it was the UN, multiple times and say, "Hey, look, you gotta fucking stop these guys from doing this shit. I'm gonna have to do something about it." Like, multiple times, and the UN just kept not doing anything about it. So that's why he invaded Kuwait, to stop them from stealing his oil. Right? They don't teach you that.
No.
They make Saddam Hussein out to be this evil guy, and he did some bad shit. I mean, don't get me wrong,
but all to his own people. I mean, they should have overthrew him a long time ago. But
his invasion of Kuwait was kind of justified.
From that perspective, yes.
His invasion of Kuwait was a lot more justified than our invasion of Iraq.
Oh, of course. Well, I mean, you could argue that with a lot of military campaigns over the last 80 years. Comparing them to our military campaigns over the last 80 years. Yeah, I did know that. And what I knew was that Kuwait didn't start the war, or Iraq didn't start the war. Kuwait started the war.
Kuwait started it. Yeah.
So, but you're right, they don't teach that. Because it's the old cliche, history's written by the victors.
Yeah.
And we won that war pretty fucking quickly.
Yeah. And, the same thing with the whole weapons of mass destruction. When the UN weapons inspectors first went into Iraq, they were like, you got to get rid of all this. So Saddam Hussein ordered all of their weapons taken out to the fucking desert and blown up. And then when the weapons inspectors came back, they were like, where'd all these weapons go? And he's like, oh, we destroyed them all. And then, of course, the UN didn't believe him. There was somebody that stayed behind. I don't know if he was like part of the UN or what, but this guy went through the desert, the area where they destroyed all the weapons, and dug through the sand and found the serial numbers for all their missiles, and
proving that they were destroyed.
That they destroyed everything. And then we still fucking invaded them, saying they had weapons of mass destruction.
Right. Well, because and even what they said, what they had was, we were told an inflated number, an inflated risk assessment of what they had that they destroyed. Yeah. They're saying they have X amount of weapons that can do X amount of damage.
Yeah, a fraction of that.
And it was a fraction of that. because they kept saying, well, we're seeing the fraction, but we know there's more.
Yeah.
So
And there wasn't.
it was just lies all
Yeah.
across the board.
It's just interesting how that whole, everything around the first Iraq war is, you're not taught the truth of it. You're not taught the real reasons behind it.
They barely talk about it anymore, do they?
Yeah.
Do they teach it in school? Because it's such a boring war by comparison to everything else.
On
And
our side,
I say right, but I say it as like, I'm not denigrating the loss of life or anything. I'm denigrating how we perceive it.
Yeah.
As a country. I mean, even at the time, it was given a lot of news for about, 2 months,
something
and
like
then
that.
it just went away.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
We won.
It didn't last long either.
No, what, a week?
Yeah, it was pretty short.
It was pretty short. I used to joke, it's like we went in for 4 days, and basically we showed up and everyone went, "Oh, we surrender." The loss of life was minimal, which is always a good thing, but it was much heavier on the Iraqi side. Well, did we even lose anybody? Like 5 people?
The first war?
Yeah.
It was, I don't know. It wasn't a lot.
A very small number. It was nothing.
Yeah.
And I think some of it was from friendly fire.
We didn't invade Iraq.
No, but we did attack Iraq, and we did send troops in.
That's why we didn't lose a lot, is because we didn't invade them.
Right. And a lot of them surrendered pretty fast. It's not a flashy war. It's not a exciting war to talk about. So no one really cares. Vietnam has its drama, so that makes it's not a flashy war, but it's a dramatic war.
Yeah.
Even Korea was kind of not as flashy. No one really talks about Korea because it's like,
it's the forgotten war.
Yeah, it kind of is.
I guess it's not really a war, but
no, police action.
Yeah,
it's a war. It's a war enough. I mean, we lost 50,000 men, and
something
that's a fucking war if you ask me. Not to mention the hundreds of thousands that came back that were damaged emotionally and physically. Yeah. So.
I guess getting back to Trump.
Must we?
The other thing that kind of bothers me is you had a lot of pushback. Not a lot. There was more pushback than I thought there was going to be in the run-up to the election from the media, from the corporate news media, right? And then after you won the election, one by one, they all fell in line. They went down to Florida and kissed the feet of the king. All of them.
Well, so they saw which way the wind was blowing. Why do you think? Why do you think fucking Zuckerberg kicked Trump off Facebook? Then he's at the inauguration. Come on, yeah, that was a peace offering. That was I'm sorry.
Well, he donated how many millions of dollars to his inaugural ball or whatever it was.
Right. Yeah, that was a peace offering. I'm very sorry that we did that.
Same thing with Jeff Bezos. He was there too, wasn't he?
Oh yeah, all the big billionaires were. Even Bill Gates was there, I think.
Yeah, the tech. I don't remember seeing Bill Gates, but I remember seeing all the other tech bros.
What's the guy from Apple was there? Bezos. Tim Cook was there. Yeah, Bezos. Musk, obviously, Zuckerberg. There were a few others, so maybe Gates wasn't there, but there were a couple others. There
is no media to even call out the actions of the government. Not in any meaningful way.
Not in any meaningful way. I mean, MSNBC calls it out every day, but they're ineffectual because they keep looking at it from an old world perspective.
Yeah.
Every Democrat they have on there, I just want to slap them and go, you learn nothing from any of this. They haven't. They've learned fucking
But you
nothing.
had people from MSNBC go down there and kiss his fucking feet too.
I know. Joe Scarborough did. Yeah. But I mean, he was a Republican anyway.
He was a Republican congressman, but he called out Trump a lot, especially in the run-up to the election.
Still does. which is weird. It's
Well,
like,
the problem is though, it's hard for MSNBC to call or to be like a beacon of light when they have allowed themselves to be painted as the crazy liberal
left.
media outlet,
Right.
which is
Right.
not necessarily the case. But
No, I mean, to some degree, there's some part of it that is.
yeah,
Oh,
but over the years, they've tried to at least portray themselves as more moderate.
right.
But when you have that perception, they just become part of the echo chamber, right?
Yeah. Oh, and
You
that's
know,
the
you're
they're
not
worse. They're worse now, if you ask me,
yeah, because
since the election.
if you're not able to rate people that don't necessarily agree with you all the time, like you're just regurgitating, you're gonna rile up your side, right? It's not
Right.
gonna make any difference.
Right. Yeah. It's circle
And that's
jerk.
why I think what Democrats need to do in the next 2 years is every single close house race that there was in 2024, any of those close swing districts that Republicans won, Democrats need to be out in their fucking districts every damn day.
Well, they should be doing that anyway.
But they're not. They're
Everywhere.
not. They're
I
not.
know.
That's why they fucking lose.
I know. Because they stay well. And why is it that Republicans can stay in their echo chamber and do even less going out and talking to their constituents and win? Democrats do it more and they lose. I've never understood the
Because
double standard that
because
exists
Democrats
there.
don't have the big boogeyman that Republicans do.
True.
Our
Well,
boogeyman, I guess, is the Republican Party, but you know, it's we don't
well,
have
Trump.
we don't
Trump
have a
has been
DEI to real, I guess.
Yeah,
You know,
Trump has been our boogeyman, and a real one at that. But even MSNBC was like, you can't keep using Trump to push your agenda. You can't use the scare tactic of what Trump's going to do. Well, what happens when he actually does it then? But you know, but to be fair, there is some truth to that. Kamala couldn't run on "I'm not Trump,"
and that's what she ran on.
and that's essentially what she ran on.
I mean, that's not essentially. That's until the last fucking days when she was like,
Here's
I
the
do have
thing.
an economic plan.
She had an economic plan very early on.
I know that, but
And she pushed, and she was very clear on what she wanted. And even the fucking Democrats, registered Democrats, kept going, "Oh, I don't know what she stands for." She just fucking told you.
but even her
She
like
fucking told you.
even the whole like we're not going back thing. It was all anti-Trump, and that's a lot of their messaging was we are not Donald Trump, and that wasn't going to win. And that's why I said
Well, it did in 2020, but it
it did in 2020 because of COVID. Like, I put a big asterisk next to that win because if it wasn't for a pandemic, Biden doesn't win that election.
Right. My theory on this, and I could be wrong. Very likely I'm wrong, but I feel like what Democrats should do is focus all of their energies doing what you said, being out with their constituents as much as possible everywhere.
Yeah.
But they also need to shift their narrative strictly to economics. You got to go away from the social issues.
Yeah.
The social issues are important, but what they need to do is they need to take a Republican approach to it. Use your platforms don't bring up DEI, don't bring up trans rights. You just bring up economic issues because that affects everybody. Yeah. And you leave all that other stuff, the woke stuff. I hate using that fucking word, but you leave the woke stuff.
I hate that they ruined that fucking word, but
right. You leave all the woke stuff behind. You don't talk about it. You don't bring it up. You win elections, and then you backdoor that stuff in the way that fucking Republicans do. They backdoor all their garbage in.
Yeah.
I mean, woke isn't garbage, but they've turned the word into garbage. But that's not garbage. But you backdoor all that stuff in. And I've said it about our entertainment. You can't keep hitting people over the head with ideas that they don't fucking understand. Yeah. Nobody gets it. If you're a cis white male and you're conservative, you do not understand why a man wants to cut his penis off. Because that's all you can think about. You don't understand. And you never fucking will. Yeah. So you don't have people beating you over the head telling you need to understand it. What you do is you show them people who you might know that are like that. And then all they have to do is just not fucking care about it.
Yeah.
That's it. Then they don't hate it and they're not afraid of it anymore. Like they did with race issues back in the 60s. You didn't have people going on talking about you need to be more tolerant. No, they just showed tolerance in entertainment, in our literature. And people woke up. Not everybody, obviously, but enough people woke up. Where by the 90s,
it's also very
truly
different now
believed
because of social media and the internet. But I understand where you're going.
Yeah, you just can't hit people over the head with these fucking ideas. They're not ready for them. They don't have the capacity for it.
Yeah.
Some of us do, but we grew up in a time. I really do believe that we were lucky to grow up in the 90s, to be teenagers in the 90s, because everything was going in the right direction socially. I feel. I mean, we had some hiccups, obviously, but I felt that by the end of the 90s, I was like, we are on track. We're going to be in a post-racial world. We're going to be in a world where LGBTQ rights would be, a thing of, it wouldn't even be a question anymore. And it was starting to get there. Now we've taken 15 steps back on all of it. Basically, just they need to lay off the woke stuff for just really, still fight for it on the QT, but
yeah,
they need to just backdoor it when they get into power. They need to get into power. It's the only thing that's going to stop the country from disintegrating.
Yeah.
Republicans are going to destroy the country, period. The United States will cease to exist if they continue to get power the way they keep doing. They've been playing the long game. They've been playing this game for almost 100 fucking years. Yeah. Ever since fucking Roosevelt. The Republicans have been fighting against all social issues, and anything that has financial benefit for the entire country. Yeah. They've been fighting against it since then. The New Deal was the best and worst thing that ever happened to this country.
I think the 90s proved one thing.
What's that?
That is that progress is not permanent.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It also proved that if you feel like you're progressing at the rate you want to, you need to reevaluate and make sure that you're truly progressing the way you want to, because, like you said, it's not permanent.
Yeah.
So,
well, let's wrap that up then. I guess that's enough rambling on about Donald Trump for now. I will say that before I would say, hey, email us at such email address. Fuck it, I don't even think Life in General has an email address anymore. But I don't know. I'm gonna put this up on YouTube, so I guess you can drop a comment. Maybe we'll get some interesting comments about it. But
I'm sure if anyone even bothers to watch it,
we'll see. I don't know. I just want
they might see our ugly mugs on there and go, "What the fuck is this?" Turn this off right now.
But I mean, until next time.
Talk to y'all later.
Peace, motherfuckers.